Alright, so how do we do that? Well, let's take a look at the one that we do have. This is a particle emitter that is attached to the player. And then we've set up some properties so that it has the appearance of, kind of looks like some webs and things coming from behind it. So let's go ahead and rebuild what we have here. We'll do a new scene so you can just kind of follow through each of the steps. Alright, so we're just using the default tile set. I'm going to place in a character, and then we'll go a couple of blocks below him. So we set up the grid. Alright, and the two other pieces, I'm going to put a sky in the background, a gradient, just so we have that one to work with. And then the last thing we'll do is put in a particle. And for this particular type, we can actually do a particle of any kind. And let's see what that means here in just a little bit. So I'm going to grab the one that was the rocks, particle rock shape right here. We'll place that in the scene. Alright. And so let's go through this one, and we'll just set up the basics for it here. So we have a couple of rocks, but we're going to start it off. Let's see, we'll change the scale value. We'll make it a little bit larger so it has more spots to randomly spawn from. And we're just going to walk through the emissions, change some values. So we'll turn off burst on this. The duration is fine at the 50, but the rate will take up to about 30 to 40. And then we'll take the max up to about 36 or 37, somewhere around there. Actually, max, let's take this to about 200 plus, because then we can have more flowing out from it. That'll be good. All right, and then the size 3 and 2 with the rocks is fine if you're using that one. I'm going to go to lifetime on this one, and we'll take lifetime up to about 25 to 30, somewhere around there. We want it to be able to go just far enough down that as it's going, it'll be following the player. And then for the color, we're actually going to do something kind of different. We're turning the color off on both of them. So what we're not going to do is track the particle itself, the image, but we are going to use that as our guide for the rest of it. Let's go to forces and turn gravity to 0. And then we'll turn the, let's see, shader. Put the shader on, and let's do the additive soft. And that'll make it kind of that glowy look to it. Alright, so then we'll do what we're going to use as the trail settings. We're going to turn on trails. Alright, so now we've got the trail on, and what we need to do is actually start to define where it goes, how it's going to go. Alright, so we're going to say the ratio. Let's actually take this down to about, we'll start with about 5%. You could increase it if you want to have more webs and stuff behind the player on that one. Lifetime we'll currently leave at 1 second going across. Alright, and then we'll do a min. If it's not, like, this is how much how many times this breaks into a smooth point. If you want that kind of angled look to it, you can leave it at 10. If you want smoother, take it down to like 0, 1, or 2. Alright, and what this will give us, let's see, we'll do our stretch mode right here. Let's take it to repeat per segment. That'll work. Alright, and then inherit the color from the particle at the start. You can do that one if you're wanting to have it where it's got the fade. So basically the very first color should be blank. We'll leave it off for the moment so we can see it while we still work with it. Alright, trail width. Okay, so on this one, I'm just going to take the start down to about 4. And then the middle width on this one, let's take this to about, let's see, maybe try taking it up. We'll take the end result down somewhere around there. Let's see. That looks about right. And then the scalar width is going to scale the entire thing. So when you get close to the shape you want, you can actually scale it up and down. So we'll go for about, let's see, we've got about half the shape right there. That looks good. And let's see. our position is where the keyframe starts. So we could say, like for this one, we're just going to go ahead and leave it 100 here, but the mid position, let's actually move that one down the line just a little bit there. So that way the largest part goes a little closer to the end point for it. Alright. And take that one down just a little bit more. And then we may bring it back up once we actually, I'm going to take it up to here, and when it starts moving, it's probably going to move a little bit less on it. Alright, so colors on the start, let's take this one. We'll go for a very soft red on there, and go for about 110 or so on the green. Alright, in color, same kind of thing. We'll take this one down about 120 or so. A little bit of a green into it. And then we'll take the blue down just a little bit. Alright. And then the gradient, we'll just change the start location. We're going to do this one so we have a little bit more start point with the blue going to the green. That'll work. Okay. So then we're going to have our attractor settings. Enable this one. We'll take this one, we're going to make this one set up to be a slurp style. And then we'll take our force and go to about 5 on it. Alright. So there we go. So it should be pretty close. We'll go back and add a brush here onto the player. And let's go back one more time on this one. This is still a little bit big for the size of it here. Let's drop that just a little bit smaller. Okay. Alright. So then we have this one connected with here. And when we start to use the character and move them around, so now we're going to have the effect coming through once it catches up here. Alright. So there you go. Just changing out the settings and then changing out the size. Now notice one thing to kind of keep track of. Do you see where it's spawning from? The spawns are coming from over here, and they're moving with him, so there's still some trails coming. But if you want to actually have it so that instead of being from this one spot, then on the player, use the player's group to group the particle, and then that way, as the, I'll move it down right there. So now as the player moves around, this is going to move behind him, and it's going to kind of stream in that same location. So if you wanted to have it like above the player all the time, you could do that. But now when the player has, when I've moved to here, I'm streaming from the spot over here. So it's never too far away from the player. It always feels like it's just kind of right around them. There you go. A couple of value changes, and then you can get something that has a kind of a fun feel of like a cobweb or a neat little trail pattern that can follow the player and stuff. Alrighty, hope you enjoyed it.